Earning your first international cap, playing in a Rugby World Cup, and having an injury end your career are things professional players can never plan for. Sometimes knowing what to do as a career after rugby can also be as difficult to determine. Former Scotland centre Graeme Morrison is familiar with this career path on and off the rugby field and has taken the time to share his experiences with the Rugby Business Network. Graeme, thank you for providing us with the opportunity.
No problem.
Even though your international career with Scotland was 8 years long with 35 caps, I'm sure you have far more than just 35 memories you'll be able to look back on. Although the 13th of June 2004, I'm sure you will remember well, as it was when you made your debut. Is this your most cherished memory as a player, and where does your experience of playing at the 2011 Rugby World Cup rank?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you as a young player, as a young boy growing up, if you've got an interest in rugby, you aspire to do the best you can in that sport, and I was lucky enough to get that opportunity. I think I signed my professional contract in the 2003-2004 season, so my first international cap came pretty quickly after that. And first of all, to be named on that touring party to go to Australia was a huge honour, and something that took me quite by surprise. I didn't expect to be part of the test squad, and I started out in the kind of midweek squad, and I had a couple of reasonable performances. And when I got named on the bench to face Australia, that was huge. I was, actually pretty nervous leading up into that. That 10 minutes I got on the pitch was like a blur. It just went so quickly, but it was something that I was definitely hungry for to continue on, and I was lucky enough to get the opportunity to do it 34 more times. A huge honour, one of the proudest moments of my life. But playing in international rugby, for Scotland, I've got several other equally great memories. Beating England in the Calcutta Cup in 2008. Unfortunately, Scotland haven't replicated that since then, but that's something I hold on to as one of the great memories. And then later on, beating Ireland at Croke Park in 2010. It was the last actual game of rugby to be played at Croke Park. It was in front of 80,000 or so people, and I think Ireland had pretty much got one hand on the trophy in their minds, and we came and spoiled the party, and that was actually a really enjoyable memory. So I've got a few of them. The 2011 World Cup in New Zealand, a huge opportunity to go to the place where rugby is like a religion, and to do something. But unfortunately, we didn't perform to our potential and didn't actually make it out of the group stages. I went to that World Cup with a slight injury as well, so it was quite a painful experience for me, just being on the physio slab for a couple of hours every day. However, to be in that environment and to make it into the World Cup squad was a huge achievement personally, and something that I will remember forever.
Well, besides your years with Scotland and all the memories gathered there, Glasgow Warriors, I'm sure, is also close to your heart, having spent 10 years there and earning a phenomenal 176 caps. Why did you not move to another club during your career and perhaps get a taste of club rugby in England or in France?
It's a question I get asked a lot, actually. I signed for Glasgow at a young age, and I spent my whole career there, as you've said. Just as my contracts were coming to an end, we would put in a string of good performances, and I just felt that there was always something more to give with Glasgow. I had a home there. I was firmly rooted in Glasgow at that point, and there was always another group of players coming through that I thought could achieve something, and I could feel like a real good buzz about the squad. I could feel that they were progressing, improving, and I just felt that I really wanted to do as much as I could to help Glasgow achieve something. Unfortunately, in my time at Glasgow, we got better and better. We didn't actually win any silverware. It was the season that after I finished, that Glasgow went on to win the Pro 12. I'm sure it's no coincidence that when I left, they picked up the trophy. But I just felt that I was definitely part of that journey. I felt that the way the culture changed at the club, and we moved to world-class facilities. The coaching staff changed, but we just really sort of, as a group of players, started to demand the best from each other, and it felt really good to be part of that. Glasgow was a squad of, they've got some world-class players, but there was no egos. It was was a real family environment and something that I was pleased to be part of. And I guess, when my contracts came to an end, Glasgow came in with offers that were good for me. So it was just right for me to do that.
Well, Graeme, the 20th of May 2013 is another date you might remember and possibly want to choose to forget, as it was the day you announced your retirement on medical advice, having struggled with persistent knee problems. How did you take the news when you were told your professional career was over?
I could, in my heart, I knew it was coming. My knee I'd been through three major knee injuries over that 10-year career. They'd had to extract, almost 80, 90% of the cartilage. So every time I was running, it was just not feeling right. But you never want to sort of accept that. And I saw my surgeon one day, and he said, "I think it's time to hang the boots up." So I braced myself for it. I went back and spoke to the club. And they were toying with the idea of maybe extending for another year. So went back to the surgeon and said, "Listen, this is the situation. What are your thoughts?" At the time, I was single, and he said, "Do you have children?" I said, "No, I don't have children." He's like, "Do you want children? And if so, do you want to be able to walk around with them? Because if you play another year or two, I'm afraid that may not be possible in later life." So that was it for me. That was your health is more important than rugby at the end of the day. And so that was it. It was a tough pill to swallow, but it was one that I knew I had to do. And the club were really supportive. Gregor Townsend was the coach at the time, and I had several meetings with him just to discuss, how to get into the right mindset and to prepare yourself for it. And that was it. And it was very fortunate. I knew I was going to have to retire that day, so it was because I'd been at the club for 10 years. Gregor decided, let's do something special. So I was rested until that last home game, and then I made sure that I was as fit as I possibly could. Knee was strapped up, and I was able to go out and play my last home game in front of the home fans after 10 years, and it was a really good send off. You kind of brace yourself for the finish, and I guess it's one door closed, and that night, the night after I played that match, I met my wife. So it made the transition into the real world, I guess, a little bit more easy, having this new sort of romantic aspect put in front of me.
That's fantastic. And you were just 30 years old at the time. Had you been planning for your life after rugby before the injury forced you into retirement? And would you say you were prepared to move into a career away from rugby, which had obviously consumed your life up until that point?
I can honestly say that no, I wasn't prepared. As a player, you talk about it with your peers, the other players. You say, well, what are you going to do? And they say the same, and you kind of put it on the back burner, and you keep on. It's in the back of the mind, but at the time you never really thought about it. And then time goes on, and you're still kind of saying that you'll sort something out, but it just didn't happen, and that's it. And then when it happens, you're kind of thinking, right, okay, kind of wish I'd done something about this. I thought, my mum and dad are in Hong Kong. I was born and brought up there. I thought I'd possibly go back and do something with the Hong Kong Rugby Football Union there. But I guess then, as I've said, meeting my wife kind of put a halt on that, because she's from Scotland, had a job here. So, I wasn't really prepared. And I guess the way things fell into place for me, I was very fortunate to do that. So I'd definitely urge any young players that are in two minds about whether or not they're going to start doing something extracurricular to definitely go and do that. And I think that the unions have a big role to play in facilitating that.
Brilliant advice, Graeme. Well, you are now a qualified chartered accountant. Very impressive. What prompted you to follow this path, and was it a career you were genuinely interested in?
Genuinely interested in it? No. I've got to say that. My dad is a Scottish qualified CA, and I hadn't ever thought I'd follow his footsteps. I was sent to boarding school at a reasonably young age, so I was away from it, and I didn't really know what he did for a living. When I retired, I got a call from someone at ICAS, which is the Institute of Chartered Accountants in Scotland, and they were thinking of opening the qualification up to people like myself who had had a long time in professional sports, or similarly army officers, people that had been in higher performance team environments that they may be able to transfer skills across into the business world. So I went to meet with them. They said, would you like to become a CA? I'd never thought of it. I kind of thought, not really. But I went away and did a little bit of research and saw that, all the kind of top FTSE 100 companies across the world have got CAs somewhere in their management. So I thought, first of all, this would be a huge challenge. I spent 6 months at university and maybe read 5 novels over the 10-year career I had, so I wasn't practiced in studying. But also, it would be a fantastic career opportunity if I managed to get through it. So I committed to doing it. And if in hindsight, if I'd known how tough it was going to be, I may have thought a little bit harder, but I committed myself to doing it. And the things that rugby gave me, the determination, the resilience, the just desire to succeed, definitely pushed me through. And a long 3 years of going to some pretty dark places, some really unfamiliar and uncomfortable territory, but just perseverance managed to get me through. And I'm glad to say that it's 3 months ago I qualified fully.
Oh, fantastic. Well, your studies and your qualifications, they've taken you into a business career at the Royal Bank of Scotland. How long have you been there? What is your current role, and what do you enjoy most about the work?
I've been at RBS now since, it's almost 4 years now. And I guess the program I was put on was very similar to a typical graduate program that comes into the world after university. So you're rotated through teams on a 6-month basis. Given that I was so fresh when I came off the rugby pitch, you don't really need to use things like Excel or be able to send multiple emails and do various things with files. So the first 6 to 9 months was a real learning experience and a real tough one. You question whether or not you've made the right choice when you're so uncomfortable. But again, it's just the marching forward and making sure that you are learning as well as you possibly can. Being coachable was a huge thing, and knowing that you're no longer one of the sort of elite. You have to start again. So it was tough, but I was surrounded by good people, and good people are key to success, I think. They helped me through it. They took time to coach me properly. So I was able to rotate through the finance function at RBS. And I'm actually now currently in a role that I think I want to be in, for the long term. And that's in the corporate development team. So that's the corporate finance aspect. It's mergers and acquisitions. Because whilst that's still, a finance role, it's not all about numbers, and it's not all about sitting down and working things out. Yes, that's a huge element to it, but there's a lot of dealing with people. There's a lot of dealing with the various different departments to find out, all of the different implications associated with a deal. And I think that rugby players have to communicate well with each other, and that's one of the skills they can bring across. And that's I think I'm much better at dealing with people than I am with crunching numbers all day.
Well, going from being a professional rugby player to a career in business is never easy, no matter if you plan for it or not. How would you describe your transition?
I'd say it was difficult. It was difficult. The rug's pulled out from underneath your feet, and you have to just be able to roll your sleeves up and get on with it. A lot of rugby players talk about their identity goes and this, that, and the next thing. And that's definitely been hard. And, I remember going back to Glasgow to watch the first game after I left, and definitely had to swallow quite hard when the boys ran out. And the fact that I wasn't part of that anymore. But one thing you have to hold on to is the fact that you've done it and you've got the memories, and you can use the memories to keep you going for that first wee while. You've made a great network of friends. It's staying in touch with them. I was best man for John Barkley. He was best man for me. Johnny Beattie, I was also his best man, and vice versa. And these things are the family environment the rugby breeds that you can just hold on to, and it's friends for life. So it's keeping them close. They still play rugby, so it's still having sort of a close connection with what they're doing. But you just have to realize it's going to happen to everyone. It's a career that is an awesome career to have, but on the flip side, it's not a long-term career. So as a player, just always in the back of the mind that, it's going to come to an end, and you need to do what you can to be ready for it. As I said, I was fortunate to meet my wife, so she supported me a lot and helped me through it. And again, without her, I don't think I'd have got through that qualification, because she was always banging the support drum But whenever I sort of had that bit of self-doubt, it's always reminding you, remember the things you've achieved. You can do the same in another field. You just have to believe you can do it. So it's not easy. It's not easy retiring. It gets easier. People ask me if I miss rugby, and absolutely every single day I do. But it's more the sort of camaraderie stuff that I miss. I don't miss having to crawl to the bathroom at 4 a.m. because I've taken a big collision. So it's just to try to remain positive and focused on the goal and remember the good times that you have had.
Absolutely. Graeme, working at a massive company like the Royal Bank of Scotland is without a doubt demanding. What are some of the similarities you have noticed between the rugby and business environments, and what skills are you drawing on from your playing days to function?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot more similarities than I thought. You are in a team environment, albeit it's not the same. There's not the physicality, and there's not the Friday night rugby tangible results that you get, but you are in a team environment and people do want to do well together as a team. So I've been able to use some of the experiences that I've had playing rugby and try and bring a different element to that. Rugby players are very good at demanding the best from each other. The All Blacks do it the best. If something's not right, they're good at calling it out. And so, I've tried to bring that into the environments that I've been in just to move things forward. Leadership, some of the leadership stuff that we learned in rugby, just spreading leaders across the team, is something that I've tried to bring into the teams that I've been involved with, and some have implemented it, and it's worked out quite well. Giving ownership to various different members of the team, and seeing the success that comes from that, and just the general communication and just team feeling, I think, is something that you can try and implement. But whether it's little team building activities that have come from my previous career, or celebrating successes as a team a bit more. And these are things that the people in the business environment really like, and hopefully the more I establish myself, the more I can bring to that.
Well, you're also part of the 100 World Legends charity project, which is a great organisation that is helping to raise the awareness of the game of rugby and get businesses involved to raise funds for children charities. How did you hear about the project, and why did you feel that you personally needed to get involved?
I had heard about it just through other players from Scotland that had kind of been loosely talking about it, and then I got a message from David, who heads it up, just asking if it's something I'd like to be a part of. And I did a little bit of reading, and just seeing the list of people that are on there, I was blown away by some of the players that were genuine legends of the game. And so to be associated with that was something that I was proud to do. But then reading more into it and reading about some of the great work, the awareness, just the help that rugby players can give to charities, children charities across the world. I think it's hugely important to try and be part of something like that, because it's great to give back. Rugby's a game that gives so much to all the players that play it, and it's important to try and give back to that. And I think having 100 legends, as you say, some of the names on that are pretty big, and so when these guys put their names to something and get behind something, people stand up and take awareness of it. And I think that would be hugely beneficial to this organisation going forward. Having organisations look and seeing, who's associated with this. This is actually quite a good cause, and it's really great awareness for things like that, having big names behind something.
Absolutely. Lastly, Graeme, being in the corporate space now, how do you think businesses can be better motivated and encouraged to support charitable initiatives like the 100 World Legends charity project? Coming
into a huge organisation like RBS, there is a CSR responsibility. Companies are aware of that, and they realise that they are in a position to be able to help and to give something back as well. So, companies want to do it, and it's just having people motivated to help drive that and to get them interested in various bits and pieces. I know that RBS has got certain partnerships with charities, and so they may feel a little bit restricted to doing to going down a different route because they've actually got partnerships. But I think if you can just raise that interest and raise that awareness, get people talking about it, then there's no reason why they can't get involved in various other bits and pieces. And I think that even with companies that haven't got partnerships with other charities, having big name rugby players come to them and try and drum up interest can only be good for this, what we're trying to achieve. And I'm definitely excited to be part of that.
That's absolutely amazing. Well, Graeme, you have shown us that even if a professional rugby player's career ends in an instant, it should not dictate what they strive to accomplish going forward. Thank you for giving up your time to share some of your stories with the Rugby Business Network, and we wish you a successful career ahead.
Thank you very much. Great to talk to you.